Hello and welcome to this video tutorial. Today we're going to create a pattern that looks something like this one in Adobe Photoshop. Along the way you're going to use a filter that you probably have never used before that is going to help us link these lines together with those sort of bendy joins, which is really nice and fun and interesting to do. I'm going to start with a new file, so I'm clicking on new file here. I'm going to create a file 1000 pixels by 1000 pixels. Essentially you can make yours whatever size that you like. Now we're going to start drawing circles, so I'm going to the ellipse tool, I'm going to select that. Of the three options here, I want to select shape. I have no fill and I have a stroke, it's a black stroke of 30 pixels. If you don't have black selected, you can just click down here. And you would find black in the end of the grayscales if you don't have it there ready to choose. So I'm going to open up my layers palette because I want to keep an eye on what's going on here, and I'm going to hold the shift key as I drag out the first of my circles. Let's go back to the layers panel. I'm going to add a new layer here because I do want my circles to go on separate layers. It's just going to make life a little bit easier in terms of moving them if I need to. And sometimes Photoshop has a nasty habit of just putting everything on the same layer. So if you want to avoid that happening, just create new layers as you go. You want probably around 5 of these circles, and you don't want them overlapping like I have just made one overlap. That's fine because I do have the path selection tool selected here, and that will allow me to select on these shapes and to move them around. I want them to stay circles, but I also want them to be moved away from each other so there's a little bit of breathing room between them. So the next thing we're going to do is to add some lines. So we're going to the pen tool, but seriously you're just going to click, so don't worry too much about it. Click on the pen tool. Again, make sure you're using shapes. You want no fill, you want a black stroke, you want a 30 pixel. You're going to click on one side of the document, hold the shift key and click on the other, and that's going to give you a horizontal line, perfectly horizontal line. Press escape so that you stop drawing, and then you're going to click and shift click, escape, and create a few lines through your document. Now I'm going to show you what happens if you don't press escape. You're going to end up with things attached to each other, so you're just going to press Ctrl Z and then press escape and then continue on. So you probably want 3 or 4 lines running from each side. Once you've done that, we can go to the path selection tool, and we're just going to move these lines around. We just want to move them up so that they're not totally joined to the bottom or the top of any circle, because we want these to be interesting shapes in a minute. So this one again is going to be a slight problem here. I can solve it by moving the circle, or I can solve it by moving the lines, or a bit of both. I think I might have another go at moving this around a little bit. So everything's looking pretty good here. I could add another line here across the bottom. I think I will at this point. So once you've got everything organized, we're going to select all of these shapes. So I'm going to select the top one, roll down and shift click on the last one. I'm going to right click here or in this sort of area of the dialog, so that will open up this menu. I want to rasterize my layers, and then I want to merge them. So again, I'm going back here, right click, and I'm going to choose merge layers, and that merges all of these layers down to a single layer. Now comes the magic. What we want to do is to make these lines thinner and make the links between the lines that nice bendy look. So with this layer selected, I'm going to filter other, and I'm going to choose maximum. And what you're going to do, depending on where your radius is you're just going to increase it, and if you wind it all the way up, you'll see that your document totally disappears. And that's fine, because what you're going to do is then start bringing it down until you get what it is that you want. Now this filter is really good for making thick lines thinner and thin lines thicker, but what we're doing here is we're using one of the attributes of this filter is that it does tend to, where lines join, is it makes a sort of bendy look, and this is the look that we want for our pattern. So I'm just clicking in here to select this and pressing the down arrow so that I can just take this down one little bit at a time until I get the look that I want. So reducing the value makes the lines thicker, increasing this radius value makes the lines thinner. So I'm pretty happy with this, so I'm just going to click OK. Now we're going to make a pattern out of this. To do that, we're going to right click on this shape layer here, and we're going to choose Convert to Smart Object. And then we'll choose View and then Pattern Preview. Click OK. And this is what our pattern is going to look like. So this is the pattern in black and white. As you can see, if we'd done a few more circles, then we would have got a more intense pattern. But this is the concept of what we're trying to do here. So I'm going to the Patterns dialog. If you don't see yours, choose Window and then Patterns. Scrolling down to the end here, and I'm going to click the plus sign because then I can add this pattern to my pattern panel. But while I'm here, I'd like to add some color to this as well. So I'm going to choose View and then Pattern Preview to exit from here. This here is a smart object. So if I double click on it, I'm going to open it up in the Smart Object Editor. You can see it's an embedded PSB file here. And what I can do is I can fill these gaps. So I'm going to grab the Paint Bucket tool, and I'm going to select a color. Actually, I want color from my swatches here. So I'm going to grab this pink color, and then with the Paint Bucket tool, I'm just going to add it to these little areas. So any area that's surrounded on all sides, we can drop some color into. I think I might do a second color as well here, just so that you can see that it's possible to add multiple colors. Once I've got that done, I'm just going to close this. So I'm going to click on the Close button. I'm going to say, yes, I do want to save it before I close it. And now we're going back into View and Pattern Preview. And here is our newly made pattern. So again, we can go with the Patterns dialog here and just click the plus sign to add this as a new pattern. And you can continue to work with this design by going to View Pattern Preview, returning to your original document. This is your embedded smart object. Double click on it, and here you can add some more color or do something different to it. When you're ready, you're just going to click the Close button and make sure you save it because it is an embedded smart object. So let's see what our patterns look like. I'm going to create a document that's a bit larger, 1920 by 1080. I'm going to unlock the background layer, open up my patterns layer, and if I click on my pattern, it will be added to my document. So this is the pattern. If I double click here, I'll be able to scale it down. So I might take it down to say 75%. Now, of course, we had two versions of this pattern. We also had the black and white version. This is one I made earlier that just has a single color in it. But you can see that the more circles and the more lines that you have in the original design, you're going to get a more intense pattern. But that's the basics of how to get these really lovely little joins in your lines, which of course are all done by that filter. That is the filter, other, and you're going to choose maximum. If you like carefully researched content like this, clearly presented in a step-by-step format so that you can get great results, then you'll love my Skillshare content. I'm a Skillshare top teacher. I have hundreds of short courses on Skillshare that you can access along with thousands of other great courses, all for the price of a single subscription. If you're interested, there's a Skillshare coupon for you in the description below to use to sign up. Using this coupon benefits me as a creator, and it helps me continue to make free content available here for you also on YouTube. Thank you for joining me for this video tutorial. On the screen now, you'll see a video that I've hand-picked for you. If you enjoyed the video you've just watched, I know that you're going to really enjoy the one I've picked for you to watch next.